I'm Angela Diffly. I'm the co-founder of the Restaurant Technology Network, and it's great to see everyone here today as you all enter the room here and get settled. Welcome to the Artificial Intelligence for Restaurants share group. The Restaurant Technology Network hosts these share groups about every 6 to 8 weeks, and we have a pretty large contingency on the call, so it's exciting. What we like to do is sort of put our feelers out there to see who's who and who's doing what when it comes to AI for restaurants. And we look for maybe some real world case studies that we can share, some use cases that are really kind of taking hold in the restaurant industry right now. We know there's a lot of hype out there. We know there's a lot of noise. So it's really nice to have folks come on the call that are really out there making change for restaurants, making positive change, either building their solutions with an AI first sort of architecture and or infusing their solutions with artificial intelligence as they go along. And as the AI gets smarter and perhaps starts learning, it's even going to get more exciting. So thank you all for joining us. We have a really good lineup today, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Today's topics, we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with Starbucks automation. I saw a really interesting LinkedIn post today and just wanted to share with everybody. There's a really quick video of what's going on there. We also have conversational AI optimized for restaurants, AI data analysis and insights, robotics and physical deployment of AI, and computer vision in the drive-thru. So we have 5 speakers total that are going to run through some of their solutions and some of their real-world case studies for you all. And then what I would love to do is for everyone on the call to please use the chat liberally, ask your questions. If you want to chime in, we only have 5 speakers on the call today. We tried to limit it a little bit as opposed to before we've had like 7 or 8. And we haven't really had a lot of time for discussion, but I'd really love to open up the floor and have an open discussion today. If there are questions and if everyone's willing to get chatty, we would absolutely love that. I think it makes for a more engaging overall session. So please feel free to participate actively. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the use case I mentioned about Starbucks. So I saw this on LinkedIn today. I believe it was 100, let me make sure, here it is, called Deep Brew is what this is called. It's in South Korea. I don't know if any of you saw it. I did repost it to LinkedIn, but it's an advanced AI solution rolled out in a South Korean Starbucks store. There are 100 robots and only 2 humans in the store. And South Korea, as some of you may know on the call, have really the highest number of robots per capita in the world. And you can see the number, pretty impressive numbers there that is going on in that country. So more than 900 robots for every 10,000 manufacturing employees. So it's really kind of cool to think about what's happening. And this is a real world example of what actually is happening at that Starbucks when it comes to deployment. So I'm going to play the video and hopefully it plays well and we can all check it out before we dive into our speakers. So pretty cool stuff. I think that is the end of the video. Fascinating to see that in action. I mean, we've all seen the robots, the server robots and the bus waiter type robots, but to see it so streamlined with all of these robotics in this, I don't even know what kind of space this is. It looks like almost like a ghost kitchen type environment rather than a customer facing environment. But anyway, it would be interesting. If anyone goes to South Korea, I expect a full report on this. Please visit it. So we're going to get started and kick off with our speakers here. Our first speaker is Jeff McMahon, CEO of Voicify. So Jeff, if you're on the call, I'll have you take it away.
Great. Thanks, Angela. Can you hear me all right?
You sound great.
All right, perfect. I'm Jeff McMahon. I'm the CEO of Voicify. We're a conversational AI platform. What that means is we build voice assistants for restaurants, and primarily they live for most of our clients in a telephony environment, but they are capable of being deployed to other endpoints as well, such as drive-through, kiosks, etc. I thought actually maybe the best thing to do is start off for those of you who may have not seen an assistant working a demo, but I just really quick, kind of what we do. What does an assistant do when you pick up the phone? It can really do anything from trying to understand what the person wants, taking orders, providing payment options. You actually give your credit card on the phone. We can send text links to credit card payments, but also doing some basic stuff like giving directions, hours of operation, and a host of other questions that a lot of restaurants don't even realize how much time is being, expended by their staff for answering some of those basic questions. So if you move to the next slide, there is a link to a short video. One of our clients, Happy Joe's, they're a pizza chain. And I don't know if, let's see, do you have a link to that?
Yeah, the
Perfect.
video right here. Here we
So if
go.
you could share with voice that or with sound, that would be great.
Let me know if my sound works.
Not hearing it now.
Okay. Hear it?
No,
No?
I think sometimes when you share, you actually have to click a checkbox.
And it's great to have a plaque.
There we go.
Please note this call is being recorded for training purposes.
You
Is
good?
it for pickup or
Yep,
delivery?
you hear it. Thank you.
Sure. What is your street address?
It's 10 Main Street.
I found an address at 10 Main Street in Crookston, Minnesota. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Great. What can I get for you?
Can I do a large chicken hot wing pizza, a small vegetarian with no onions, and a taco pasta?
You got it. I've added the large chicken hot wing pizza, small vegetarian with no onions, and a taco pasta. What else can I get for you?
Actually, I don't want tomato on the taco pasta.
You got it. I'll make sure there are no tomatoes on the taco pasta. What else would you like?
What appetizers do you have?
We have a variety of delicious appetizers, including cheese sticks, pizza sticks, wings, garlic toast, and popcorn chicken. What can I get for you?
Let's add in a popcorn chicken and pizza sticks.
Got the popcorn chicken and pizza sticks. For your pizza sticks, do you want small, medium, or large?
Large.
Added the large pizza sticks. Do you need anything else?
Do the pizza sticks come with sauce?
Our pizza sticks are served with Italian dipping sauce. What else can I help you with?
Great, I'm ready to check out.
Would you like to add any beverages to your order?
Sure, can I add 2 water bottles, please?
Got the 2 water bottles. Can I get you anything else?
Nope.
Okay. I've got 1 large chicken hot wing pizza, 1 small vegetarian pizza with no onions, 1 taco pasta with no tomatoes, 1 popcorn chicken, 1 large pizza stick, and 2 bottles of water. I can have this delivered to you in 45 minutes. Can I place this order?
Yep.
You should get a text with your order details. See you in a bit.
Great. Thank you. So that's just an example of an assistant that's live with one of our customers, Happy Joe's. A lot of folks think of AI and in particular conversational AI as specifically addressing labor shortages, and that is true. That's definitely a major component of the sort of ROI analysis. But what I hope to illuminate here in the couple of slides I have is just there are a number of other important reasons that our clients are actually finding why conversational AI is helping. Some were understood and some were sort of surprises to them. So certainly, missing orders and calls on a busy Friday or Saturday night for a pizza chain like Happy Joe's is really important to the analysis as well. I mean, if you're, you could have 8 to 10 calls at the same time that, someone at the restaurant just couldn't handle, and that might translate to a 30-minute hold time, and therefore customers that are leaving, going to a different, option in town, maybe getting frustrated and not coming back. Certainly the upsell component that you heard on the line there is helpful to increasing overall check size. And then some of the more surprising ones I think that people find is just the sort of improvement to employee satisfaction. I think answering the phone can be frustrating and overwhelming for somebody who might be juggling a lot of other things, including being at the cash register, bouncing into the make line when necessary. And if you can remove one of those pieces, that can be helpful as well. So we'll move to the next slide here. I'll sort of go through the highlights because I did want to provide some specific stats on, what our customers are finding and maybe try to highlight some of the areas that people don't immediately think of when it comes to conversational AI. One is just not missing any call. On average, when we deploy the system, we're finding that customers we're finding that they are missing 30% of their calls, and you don't realize that until you deploy conversational AI and actually get all of the data along with that. So, we do have a pretty comprehensive analytics package that allows people to see what the calls are, categorize them, how many are orders, how many are people asking for directions. And so about 30% of all calls were being missed. And in some cases, I certainly won't say which clients, but we had a number of clients who found big chains that found that their staff was actually putting the phone on do not disturb. It was just permanently on do not disturb. They were so overwhelmed that they just said, you know what, we're not answering the phone. And you can imagine the lost revenue when that happens. In terms of labor savings, I mean, that is the one that people think of the most. And what we're finding, the easiest way to calculate that is when someone actually has a call center. I think most of our clients who are sort of deflecting from a call center using this technology are finding there's a 2 to 3x savings. So on average, to take an order by phone, it can range anywhere from $1.50 to $2.50 on the high end. Whereas the sort of total cost all in of something like Voicify's conversational AI is closer to 50 to 60 cents. So there's a pretty substantial savings there, particularly if you're comparing it directly to a call center. And I think, you can make some reasonable assumptions. If you don't have a call center, our clients ask, well, how do we run this analysis? And I think, reallocating some of the cashier's time to assisting with the make line and other tasks, you can say at least 20-30% of that is can be reallocated. And in some situations, depending on the staffing, you can eliminate a shift during busy times, et cetera. One of the questions I get a lot is on the upsells and sort of suggestive selling, what is the actual sort of increase in check size? And what we found, across all of our customers, it really ranges anywhere from 5 to 15%. There's a host of factors that go into that, and including the nature of the upsell, but it's substantial if you think about it. What your average check size is if you can get another 5 to 15%. And then finally, I think personalization actually makes a lot of people say, well, it's a robot, it's not that great. I want to really have that close customer experience, but we can understand who's calling based on the phone number and other metrics, and start to be able to answer the person using their name. If there's a loyalty component, we can say, thanks for being a loyal customer for 5 years. Here's what your points total is. Here's what your coupons you have available, et cetera, which a human in the store couldn't do. So it starts to become even more personalized, and actually gets to a faster checkout when you can say, hey, the last time you were here, you ordered a large pizza and 50 buffalo wings. Would you like to just reorder that again? And a lot of people are utilizing that as well. Next slide, please. So another thing, and this won't come as a surprise for most, I would think, but to get any real value out of a system, if you're thinking about adding conversational AI, no matter where you are in the journey, like all of your other systems, particularly customer-facing ones, how you integrate and what systems you can integrate to are really important. To have that full sort of tight integration where that conversation, like the one you heard, is integrated with the POS and it has low latency and is accurate, et cetera, really can't be overstated. That making sure that whoever you choose to use for your conversational AI to partner with, that they have capability to integrate with any of the systems that you have as well. Next slide, please. So I think this is the last slide. Just a couple things to leave folks with. This is more of a kind of a best practices that we've found, having rolled out to many locations over lots and lots of brands. Number one is sort of, particularly for food ordering, menu augmentation. That process of turning your menu, wherever it's stored, likely in your POS, into a more something that can be conversational, is a little bit of a process, and that includes just figuring out where there might be some colloquial names or you have certain branded products, and just understanding that, but also making sure if you have a larger chain, we have a recent deployment where there are a few hundred locations, and they probably had 10 different menus. They thought they had one, but you'd be surprised how even if at the corporate level you think there's a single menu, that it can sort of grow tentacles. And so we went through a process of sort of standardizing the menu, which helped create some efficiency, not only for the deployment of the conversational AI, but the company as a whole. Another important one, I think, is just introducing the digital assistant to your customers. So particularly if you have longstanding loyal customers that are calling in, once a week or every other week, they may be used to calling and talking to the same person. What we found is there is a process that can make that transition and that sort of change in behavior more effective. First, sort of starting with turning it on during off-peak hours, understanding if there's some, what the behaviors are, the folks who are calling in, evaluating those calls, seeing if there's any need to make changes or tweaks. Obviously, increasing that and starting to get into some more of the peak hours. The other thing we found is something as simple as just providing, rather than forcing people to do it right off the bat, saying, hey, we have this new assistant. It's great. It's going to help you not have to wait on hold. And it's personalized, and it's going to understand what your last order was, and it can help you with a host of things. We'd really love for you to try it. Here's a 10% off your order. And then you run that for 30 to 60 days, build trust, and people start to really be impressed and like it and actually prefer it. So there is, beyond the technology, there is sort of a best practice and a way to deploy. And then finally, like most things on the technology side, measure, learn, iterate. It's a big, some people find it a big leap to go to conversational AI, particularly if you're going to full ordering. What we have, for example, a product just called AI Answering, which does everything short of ordering. So it picks up the phone, it answers all those basic questions and any other questions you get a lot, but it's just short of having to do a full integration on the POS. And that we find helps the customer, get used to, talking to a digital assistant, and it also, gets the staff in the store used to it as well. And then when they're ready, they move on to the full food ordering capability. So I believe that's all we have. I'm happy to answer questions in the chat, or if you'd like to reach out afterwards as well.
Yeah, any questions? We probably have a minute for like one question, quick question for Jeff before we flip to the next speaker. And if you don't want to speak up, we can put them in the chat. Tim,
Yeah, hey, Jeff, one question. There are a lot of different kind of voice ordering solutions that are kind of suddenly just kind of appeared on the marketplace. Can you provide some guidance as to what differentiates the various solutions that are out there?
Yeah, good question. And it's true. There are quite a few that have sort of popped up. I think where I can at least speak to where kind of Voicify, the differentiator, the main differentiator for us, that we've been around for 5 years, well before the sort of chat GPT, conversational AI boom that's sort of hit in the last 12 to 18 months. And I think particularly as it relates to restaurants, finding somebody who isn't just, sort of using chat GPT in the background, but actually has the experience of integrating with restaurants, understanding the order flows, and just the full restaurant technology stack. I think some of the newer players are not necessarily, just don't have the experience with all of the integrations and understanding things from through the lens of a operator in a restaurant environment. And then on the technical side, if you're just using a generative AI model in the background, what happens is that if anyone's ever used ChatGPT, you don't know the answer that you're going to get back. So some of the newer folks who are using that type of technology can't control actually the response, and that can lead to some very strange and undesired situations. So I'd say from our perspective, a hybrid of using the sort of the best of generative AI to help make sure that you're understanding what the customer is saying, but then the sort of old school rules, the rails of a sort of operations based, rules based programming that can deliver the exact response you want every time, so that as a brand, you're creating a consistent experience every single time and not leaving it up to something like ChatGPT or one of the other generative AI solutions out there.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Looks like you've got your work cut out for you in the chat while we
All right, thanks.
next speaker. So appreciate all the great information. We're going to switch to now Service Channel with Janelle Zuppi on the line, Director of Product. Hi, Janelle.
Hi, Angela. Thanks for having me. All right, I'm here to talk to you about AI from the perspective of a facility management platform. So thinking about how AI can help with, completing repair and maintenance work, managing provider performance and those relationships, supporting a great experience for the workers in your restaurants, as well as, the full asset lifecycle. So making sure that you support good brand image with asset uptime. That's a lot to cover, but there's a lot that AI can do for us. So if you go to the next page, I think this is a nice follow-on to the previous conversation. There's a lot of buzz around Gen AI lately and ChatGPT, and I just kind of want to set the stage to remind everybody, and maybe I'm dating myself, that AI has been around for a long time, and it is not always Gen AI. So I like to think about how our complex algorithms and machine learning, rules-based engines and automation, how all of these different types of AI can help smooth out your day-to-day and continue to improve the processes that you're following and lead you to more strategic answers. So generative AI is an important piece at natural language processing to be able to have that conversational AI, but there's a lot of different ways that AI technologies can help. So if we go to the next slide, when you're thinking about those different technologies, you want to think in terms of solutions. So how can those technology solutions help in, my world? And the ways that I like to think about that in terms of the product development is coming through with AI in actionable insights. Like, how can AI help crunch numbers for you so you're not spending a lot of time in a BI tool or reporting, comparing some spreadsheets? AI is a good tool to help offer strategic guidance, crunching those numbers for you and making recommendations. Additionally, those embedded insights right in front of you help with usability in the moment. You don't need to be an analyst when AI is providing you with some actionable intelligence, so you can kind of get on with your day-to-day work and make decisions faster. It's going to help you just operationally work towards your goals. And of course, when we're talking about doing things faster, automation is maybe the main way which AI can help covering that manual effort and freeing up your time to be more strategic by kind of handling some of those menial tasks for you. If you go to the next slide. One of the first ways that we at Service Channel try to look at how we can utilize AI to help our customers with their day-to-day is in terms of automation. Often when I talk to my customers, and I know this is true at the restaurants especially, is that the team is always trying to do more with less. we're busy. We are making sure that, you know, that oven got fixed so that my customers can come in and eat. The most important thing is getting the work done. And at the same time, we know that we want to be more strategic and be able to plan wide-ranging projects rather than just the tactical getting things done, fighting the fires. With teams being understaffed and catching up, AI can be your ally to help you get some of that, you know, tasks done so that you can move on to the strategic work where you would like to be. If you move to the next slide. Again, generative AI is an option that can help us when we are trying to handle some of those menial tasks and can use that conversation. Automation can help, you know, reduce resolution times and get the work done in your restaurant that you need to get done faster. We can help with communications so that you're spending less time looking things up. It's a great application of AI. Additionally, the idea, and we talked about this a little bit in the last speaker's presentation, so I'm happy that I can carry on that same message, is that we're looking to use AI to reduce your employees' time spent on these menial tasks so they can do the things they want to do. You're going to alleviate some of those constraints and open up the time that you can have a human in your store, you know, helping your customers and working on the items that will be more engaging for them. And I have an example here that I wanted to share. This is an example that is working on a repair work order. So something is broken in your store, requires a fix. Typically, that will require a restaurant employee to follow up in the case that that repair work did not get completed right away. In this example, we have a repair that required a parts to be ordered. So this went into parts on order status from your provider. They said, okay, I need to come back. This particular example that we're looking at right now is for a cooler. They needed to order a part and marked that fact when that provider left, but did not update a scheduled return time. In this case, typically we have to wait to see when that part will arrive, and perhaps this gets lost in the shuffle or is required one of your employees to go and sort of ask for an update. Where AI can help is by reviewing the status of this work order, looking through the notes and the details and the fact that it was noted that a part needed to be ordered, put together a common sense response that can post to the work order to the provider and mark as action required, asking for an update. You know, I can see that you entered this, you needed to order this part. Can you confirm if it's been received and when do you plan to return on site so that scheduled date is available for your on-site restaurant team? So while this is just a small piece of how AI can help, it is intended to help save some time and maybe just eliminate one of those menial task steps that the on-site restaurant team would have to complete. And that's just a simple example of the way that we're thinking that AI can kind of be that strategic ally and partner helping you with automation in your facilities.
Thank you, Janelle. That's awesome. So if Janelle and Jeff, both of you want to put your information in the chat, people can also reach out to you. That would be great. We're going to move it on along because we want to make sure we have time for all of our speakers, but certainly put your questions in the chat if you have any questions for Janelle as well. Thank you so much. Now we will move on to Rivalry Tech with Aaron.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Aaron Canopi, CEO and co-founder of Rivalry Technologies, where we modernize order fulfillment. So we started out in professional sports with a mobile ordering platform, quickly realized that there were more challenges behind the counter in the kitchen than there were getting the guests to use the platform itself. So we've switched now to focus on the operators and on those kitchens with mobile, kiosk, and back of house software solutions. So next slide, please. So we've really come to realize that AI is going to touch pretty much every aspect of that whole, chain of events that goes into an order and in that order fulfillment process. And so, on the right, that eye chart that I put in here for everyone to squint at essentially touches on a lot of what goes into these ecosystems, whether it's your mobile ordering, your kiosks, server tablets, kitchen management, all the way to the back of house, things like your point of sale systems, to ADA compliance, loyalty, even to hardware. AI is going to touch on a lot of that. And so, there's been a lot of discussion in the industry about guest-facing enhancements for that experience around AI, right? Upselling, personalization of the menus, the predictive analytics around all of that. At Rivalry, while we focus on that, we're putting more emphasis on the back end, on the operators. Where and how can AI actually support our restaurant partners and our other partners out there in the industry? So for us, it starts at the very beginning, right? AI is a great tool in the assistance for onboarding. So in other words, you get a shipment of equipment, you open the box, who's opening that box? How do you set it up? How do you turn it on? What happens after that? How do you get it connected into your tech ecosystem in the restaurant? And so we're building some AI-driven tools to support that, to replace, what we all know is the online knowledge database, right? The 37,000 links that you can click to go find your specific problem and your specific challenge. We're working to actually streamline a lot of that to support and not have to overly educate our end users on how it works, right? Go into the platform, ask it what's next, and get that answer. And so taking that mentality, we're working on other tools around the AI space for training, inventory management, demand forecasting, essentially streamlining that whole process so that our operators can have confidence that the system's going to operate smoothly, that if they have questions, they can get their answers quickly without having to call into a helpline, without having to go search a knowledge database. So we're really focused on that entire chain. The other areas that we're starting to see a lot of this come into play are areas around computer vision, as an example. We're seeing more and more of that. And so we're working with more tools around computer vision checkout. We're seeing a lot of streamlining there with that whole process, right? Where it's actually almost becoming more work with the digital input of the data that you're trying to scan for your guest to check out with. How do we automate that annotation? How do we use AI to backfill a lot of that missing data? So we've got some AI synthetically generated data that we leverage in our platforms that also streamline a lot of that. But then there's the really fun part, which is the next slide, and that's a lot of our equipment integrations. And so at Rivalry Tech, I'm glad that you showed that video at the beginning, Angela, the Starbucks and the robots. We've been doing that since last year down here in Houston, and it's a really neat deployment. It's still in pilot phase, but we're essentially it's a Starbucks cafe in a large office building, and the order comes in through the platform. You give us the location, the barista puts it on the robot, and it takes off down the building and delivers your coffee in a matter of minutes. And so that's a big area of focus for us. It's we're not building the robots, but it's finding those partners. That market is evolving really, really rapidly. There's a lot of great products out there, and they get better, every time. Seems like every conference we go to, the robots have learned something new, right? Last year, they couldn't figure out elevators, and now they figured out elevators. They couldn't figure out steps. Now they're figuring out steps. So we're implementing more and more of that technology into our platform as well. Again, what can we do to automate that? And then to take a step back, we're also starting to leverage more robotic kitchens, fully automated robotic kitchens. So we're seeing everything from, and a lot of people on the call are probably familiar with the pizza robots, the conveyor belts that make the pizza. That has to tie into the rest of the tech ecosystem as well. You have some that do. You have some that simply just are manual entry. And so we've been working with those companies to better tie in to the overall tech ecosystem. So for example, the one you see in the picture here is in partnership with ABB Robotics. And it's actually, this is an image. I didn't know we could show videos, right? Have a video, but we've got a video of it, but it's a large ABB robotic arm. And essentially it's taking that food from fresh and it's cooking it in cookers, putting it in bowls and putting it in lockers. And so we're layering our platform over that whole robot. And so now we've got these AI components all the way through the entire order process. And so the robots, for example, they're using the intelligence they gather to build out meals, the reporting, really streamlining that process for the users as well. So again, from beginning to end, whether we want it to or not, we're seeing AI have an impact on each and every step of that order fulfillment process. And that's it for me.
Okay, that's great, Aaron. If you have any questions for Aaron, throw them in the chat. Maybe we can watch that video at the end. We have a little bit of time and let you share
I'll
your
pull it
story.
up.
I would love to do that. Let's move on. We have got Alexander Hopper, who is the CEO of Hellometer. Hi, Alexander. Hi, Alex. I should call you Alex.
Alex works just fine.
Now you said that you had your own deck. This is the one you wanted to. You had your own. Deck. This one was the wrong deck, right?
I can drive if that's better.
Yeah. Let me stop share and then you share and then we'll pop back on here. Hang on a second, everybody.
Okay, can you guys see my screen now?
You're good.
Okay, yeah, so I'm Alex. I am the CEO of Hellometer. We are a computer vision artificial intelligence tool that helps restaurant owners grow revenue using cameras to monitor and improve guest service speed. So it's cameras in restaurants that track each guest and measure exactly how long it's taking for there to get their food. The speed of service is a core part of what the value proposition that customers are coming in for. It's in the name, whether you call it fast food or quick service restaurants. But historically, there has not been a particularly reliable way to measure it. The existing tools are either inaccurate or incomplete, and in many cases, both. And so that's where we come in. Our solution is really simple. It's just some cameras that are hooked up to a little computer in the restaurant. And there's 3 places where we provide value to the restaurants today. The first is in the drive-thru, where we make the world's best drive-thru timer. So we track every guest from the moment they pull into the lot to the time that they actually get their food, and then very granularly every stage in that process. And so when I say best, I mean that really across any measurable dimension, whether that's accuracy, features, the sort of completeness of the information about each guest, price, ease of implementation. And we marry those data onto a couple of different data systems. You saw our in-store monitor there, but we also have an app and live alerts where we help operators in real time manage and improve throughput. We also do the same thing in dining rooms, which is sort of the second area, where we build a drive-through timer, but for your lobby guests as well. And this is one of those things that's always been a really good idea. Most brands wouldn't open up a drive-through without some sort of timer solution there. And the lobby is really the same. There just hasn't been a technology to do that reliably before Hellometer. And we provide the exact same data system so that you can manage your dining rooms exactly the same way that you do your drive-through. And then the sort of last tier to our offering is that we are a fully featured surveillance solution as well. So it really doesn't make sense for us not to be, once we have cameras inside and outside your restaurant. And we price at about what most brands are spending for surveillance anyway. And so we're used and trusted by some of the world's best service brands today. But what I really wanted to talk to you guys about is the impact that we're seeing our AI having on restaurants, and what that means for the future. The impact that we have is pretty big. We increase same-store sales by about 3%. So for those in the room that are operators, you can kind of do the math and calculate what a 3% delta in revenue looks like. For most quick service restaurants, that's a little north of 100K a year in added revenue. So, you know, if you're a multi-unit operator with, say, 100 locations, that's to the tune of $10 or $11 million a year in added revenue. Not bad for a couple of cameras, right? We're not changing the menu or the layout or staffing or anything like that. So it pretty much all goes directly to the bottom line. And because we are a surveillance solution, we're usually saving. There's a couple of other technologies that will replace, like the vehicle loop detectors and so on. And so we'll save the location about $1,500 a year as sort of the cherry on the cake. The way that we're able to drive that impact is really interesting, and it's data worth sharing with this group. And I think it's sort of indicative of the kind of impact that we'll see for AI in general. It is not that we take your best performing locations and make them perform a whole lot better. And in fact, we actually don't expect your best performing locations to perform a whole lot better. Whether you're operating 10 locations or 100 locations or 1,000 locations, there's going to be this A group and B group and C group of performance. And it's really that C group, that bottom third, that Hellometer has the most impact on. And what we do is we just bring them up to the average. And so that has a huge impact. We did a case studies recently with some of our Culver's locations. And so here, you know, what we see is that, you know, on average, speed of service will increase like 13%, but up to 36% in some locations. So, you know, in time terms, that's like 1.5 minutes, improved speed of service per guest. So, you know, the impact that has on throughput is pretty substantial. The historic way of doing this, sort of like pre-AI, is, well, you hire a throughput or a speed of service consultant that comes in. And they're very effective, and we absolutely recommend them. The issue that they tend to have is that they will have a diminishing impact over time. They come in and they improve speed of service, but then, you know, month 2 goes by, month 6 goes by, and then the restaurant is performing back to its baseline. You know, so having this always on tool, one of the things that we look for is whether the improvements that we're able to drive are in fact sustained. It's a particular challenge in quick service restaurants where, like, employee turnover rate, it's not surprising it to be north of 100%. So, you know, by month 6, you might have more than half, you know, a delta in terms of the staff that were actually there when you started a throughput initiative. And then the other thing that we really look for is, it's, you know, it's one thing to improve speed of service. That's great. But we also look for a consistency and reducing variance. And this is really important for large operators, for brands in particular, right? If you go into one location and you have, like, you know, a 15-minute service experience, that's going to imprint you for the brand as a whole. It's going to diminish the you know, the asset value of the brand name and logo, and probably turn the customer off. On the revenue side, it's really interesting to see how improvements map out. And so it's exactly that sort of delta in the bottom tertile of locations that we're looking for. Here we see that the locations that were the slowest start performing towards the average. And we see pretty big speed of service, and, you know, like 30%. You know, average speed of service performance improvements in that bottom third. I think what's also really interesting is looking at the revenue deltas that we're able to drive. So that 3% increase same store sales, that's on average, that's across a portfolio, but it's really, like, mostly being described by the change in performance of the bottom performance. And so here we see the locations that had the biggest delta, also seeing, you know, 7-9% increases in terms of revenue. That's That's pretty big, especially for QSR, where oftentimes it's a relatively low margin business. And then, we did the same thing for Subway. This is interesting because this is now dining room, which for most brands is pretty understudied. They have had, at least loop timers for drive-throughs, so there's some sense of the relationship between speed of service and revenue. But dining rooms are a pretty black box. Oftentimes when we put in our system, there's a little bit of a little bit of excitement because they think they may be serving guests in 3 minutes or less or 4 minutes or less, and we'll show them 8, 9, 10 minute plus times, and it kind of lights a fire up under the operators. And so here we see the same sort of dynamic, minute and a half improved guest service speeds, and really a big delta in terms of the variance, right? So in the before world, you might go into one location and you have like a 4-minute time, and in another location you have like an 8-minute time on average, and that's an average. So like about half guests are going to experience something a little bit less than that, but half the guests are going to experience something more than that. And so that's sort of the impact to wrap things up that we're seeing in our corner of the world with AI. It's less about the future, more about the right now, and driving kind of changes on the margins to the margins. We think that that's going to be where a lot of the sort of early adoption and big wins as far as operators implementing systems that they see immediate ROI from, that can scale across their locations today.
Thank you, Alex. That's phenomenal numbers reporting there. We enjoy seeing the real deal. You have some work cut out in your chat too. So
okay.
Hopefully you can answer those questions as we go along. And I think we have one. Oh no, did I hold on a second, everybody.
Cute dog.
Thank you. Can you see her? I can't see where I'm trying to go. So be patient with me, everybody. I'm trying to find it. This is what happens sometimes when I share my screen, is it becomes a little problematic. Okay. I thought for some reason I was thinking, Alex, that was your screen still, but I think it was mine. Okay. So I think this is one of your other slides. Let me just forgive me while I flash through this. These were the slides that he already covered. So we have our last speaker. We have Chris Seifkin, Global Head of Technology for Xenial. So hello, Chris. Thank you for joining us. And let's finish this off in style.
All right. Yeah. No pressure, right? Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm Chris Seifkin. I lead product and technology for Xenial, which is a company owned by Global Payments, and we provide, generally speaking, point of sale and other technology to the QSR space, point of sale, digital menu boards, some drive-through timing, and online ordering delivery capabilities to our customer base. And so I know the topic here is about AI and what are we doing specifically in AI. And so I'll talk to you a little bit about that. And I'll give you, we didn't put numbers in our presentation, but I do have some I'll share with you that we recently did a Harris Poll survey. And we've got some kind of key details here, and I'll share a link to those details in the chat once we're done. But drive-through still remains to be kind of the key area people use for QSRs. 49% of our respondents this go around, and we kind of do the same survey every year or twice a year, something to that effect. It gets to about 3,000, regular consumers out in the field, and so it helps us kind of make decisions about how we're thinking about investing in technology and what we're bringing to market. And so, like I said, drive-through still remains kind of key to what the general public is seeing as a way to interact with QSRs. 49% of the respondents said they most frequently actually use the drive-through for how they interact with a restaurant. Of those, 57% said that 5 or more cars in a drive-through are basically going to turn them away, right? Unless they know for sure that you are running a efficient operation and they feel confident they're going to get through that drive-through. If they see 5 or more cars, they're likely to make another decision. And so that speed of service conversation is really critical when you think about that, because you really don't want to have that stack lined up 5 or more, and understanding how big that stack is at any given time is a key element that, some of the AI capabilities that we've talked about today are really going to help, drive the future of. 53% say they usually know what they want to order already before they get here. And if you think about it, you're doing line busting or anything like that, you're typically not in front of a menu when you're talking to that, first interaction of an employee. You're at somebody who's got a tablet and they're not showing you a menu per se. And so you're really relying in that scenario on the guest knowing what they want before they walk in, or before they drive up, I should say. And you're also relying on that employee to have a good conversation with the guest to hopefully upsell. Obviously, this can be dramatically impacted by the digital menu board, which, again, is a product that we offer, but the digital menu board just in general has, built-in order confirmation capability. And as you think about that, we've been, working with customers on this sort of discovery path. And so if you think about it, I've ordered a sandwich and I might want to know the most common ways that sandwich is modified. And some of those most common ways, similar to what you're doing in, say, a kiosk or a mobile ordering environment, where you're suggesting, add-ons and modifications that help improve overall amount of your check average, can be suggested as part of that modification. So you're kind of helping the consumer discover what it is that they can order from you, and those modifications can, best suit your needs. I'm kind of steering them in a direction or another, or suggesting them in a direction or another, where you do have that ability to influence, and you're not presenting them with every possible choice on your entire menu board as they go through that ordering process. So some pretty interesting stuff happening in that space, and I think, we'll see more of that. Some key useful pieces of information, and I see some familiar faces in the audience here that we talked about with, is the ability to, not only use that, but time of day, various, pricing strategies or discount strategies for those modifications, those things you might want to affect change for, are all things that can be done, in a subtle way that would allow you to kind of drive outcomes that you're after for your businesses. Whether that's speed, you want lower modification, for example, during a certain time period because you've got a larger, stack size, or we're using cameras in the drive-thru to understand how many cars are out there waiting in line. Or you want to encourage modification because you don't have as much, current demand. Those are things that can kind of be turned on or off based on what's happening. Some other key kind of pieces of information I think are useful is that, pricing and rising pricing for food has impacted whether or not people are going to go out and actually spend money at your restaurants. And so, thinking about how they are impacted by that and how you're presenting the information, I think is key. So just, some key kind of consumer metrics, like I mentioned, to talk about that. And like I said, I'll share these details with you guys as a link that you can pick up and download. As I mentioned, 91% of the people who said if they saw more than 5 cars wouldn't stick around if they knew the drive-thru was fast, if they knew those speed of service times were good. They might be willing to stay longer, or might be willing to enter that line with that information. So yeah, just some basic information I thought would be kind of helpful to set the stage, and then a little bit about what we're doing in this space kind of next. And if you want to go to the next slide. So some key areas that we've been working with either partners or directly on our own to just talk about. We talked a little bit about dynamic menu boards and dynamic menu board pricing and opportunities there. Most of our customers think about day parts in, breakfast, lunch, dinner, late night, maybe there's one more. Whereas we're not limited by that. We're not limited by that technologically. We're not limited by that in any way. We could have 12 day parts. We could have 24 day parts, one for every hour of the day. We could have day parts that are simply 30 minutes long. And so again, a lot of this depends on how you plan to roll that out, but the capability exists for you to drive a more diverse menu and pricing structure based on, more factors than what we have historically used, especially when you consider the fact that you've got digital menu boards and POS systems that talk to each other and understand what that menu looks like and how it's going to change throughout the day. Camera-based drive-through timing. I know Hellometer just went through their pitch. Our story on camera-based drive-through timing, we make our own drive-through timers as well. And we do use cameras for our latest product offering. The key here that I would say is a takeaway is the integration between the camera, the point of sale and the kitchen, right? We're not just looking at how much time it takes you to make your way through the drive-through, but actually using the camera to drive the experience from the perspective of the cashier. So the camera system in our world is integrated directly with the point of sale. When a car pulls up at the point of sale, you're clicking on a picture of that car, you're clicking on an icon that represents that car having pulled up. The order is then associated with that vehicle throughout the order life cycle. The times that car spent at different places are associated with the order that they made, the customizations that they made. And now we can tie together a large kind of piece of the puzzle as though it went through the kitchen and what team members worked on it and all of the details that drive a life cycle of that. So we're pretty excited about that. It's a pretty interesting trove of data that you can get and figure out what's going on. And the operational impacts are fantastic, meaning if I've got a dual lane drive-through with a Y merge, I now no longer have to think about reordering my kitchen. I now no longer have to think about, well, is that my payment window? Who's at my pickup window? All of those things are automatic. When the car pulls up, the icon lights up. The cashier is then able to press that, take the order, payment for that person, and mark the food as served directly from the POS screens, all without any other interaction. They don't have to pick anything out of a list, really reducing the cognitive load of the employee operating the restaurant. And that's kind of a key area. When technology works, it fades to the background like magic. And that's a key goal of ours as we think about integrating these systems together and how they work. We kind of want the cashier to be able to just do their job. And that's the benefit of the AI component of this, which is stitching all these pieces together. We're kind of taking away some of that effort they have to work on to figure out, what the next step in their process needs to be. Similar to that, we're working right now with Quail to integrate the headset to the whole seamless flow. So when you see that car pop up and they are now ready to take their order, when I press the POS button, we'll be able to swap the headset that you have on your head to that order taking lane. You've also got the order confirmation board swapped at the same time. So everything that you do when you press that button, even if you want to take outdoor payments, fully switches to lane 1 and then fully switches to lane 2, allowing you to have a single person take multiple lane drive-through orders, without the risk of having some mix up in terms of what they're seeing, who they're talking to. They don't have to think about 3 things anymore. They can just think about the one thing, which is talking to the customer and taking their order and making sure they have a great experience. I have here voice bot ordering support. We've attempted this on our own, but more recently have really leaned into the partners in this space who are working on this. There's a lot of great companies out there. You just saw one demo earlier, which I thought was great. And our viewpoint here is that this is an integration point. This is a piece of the brand that our customers are going to want to select specifically based on their needs and their menu. And so we've done a lot of work integrating with our various voice ordering partners, and we've met some great folks through that. And there's some great, fantastic advancements there. Our focus is on making sure we're ready for those integrations and that they're effective and that they work really well. So we've got a few advancements coming in that space, including incremental ordering capabilities, the ability to take over the order confirmation area of the digital menu board is a key piece of that puzzle. So when you're talking to the bot, you're not only listening and talking, but you're actually seeing something that's happening where you're having a more interactive experience. That's key to our area. And then tying that all up with, deeper integrations to loyalty and payments, inside, outside, QR Pay, Venmo, making sure we have unattended payment solutions that work outside in the drive-through is a key advancement we kind of see as well. So you can take the order and pay without necessarily having to have a second window open and avoid a piece of the puzzle there, allowing the consumer to do it themselves. Pretty cool stuff. Gonna jump to the next page. All right, so tying it all together is kind of the key here. And as we talk about what we're doing, I kind of reiterate the point that these systems working together drive an easier experience for the employee. Employees are tough to get, they're tough to attract. The cost of them is going up, as we know, in many places. So being able to get more done with the same number or fewer folks is really key. And I think that's what this is all about. It's also all about making sure that your place to go to work is a better place to go to work than the place across the street, right? If I have a choice and it's harder for me to do the job over here and easier over here, I'm going to make a different choice based on how hard or easy that job is. I'm also going to do a better job for your consumer based on how easy I make that job for you. So I've set off my fireworks here because I think that's it. That's all we have time for. But I appreciate you guys' time and hopefully this was useful and interesting.
Thank you so much, Chris. And thanks to everybody. I know that we ran up on time, so I think maybe next time we only need four speakers. So that's my fault to keep us all going. This is such a great topic, and there's so much wonderful information that you all shared. So thank you so much to all of our speakers for giving us your expertise, your tech talent, lending us your brains for this hour, and for everyone who asked such insightful questions in the chat. Thank you. We will see you on the next RTN AI share group, and this has been recorded. We will post this to our YouTube channel, and we'll put it on LinkedIn. So be on the lookout for that in case you missed a little tidbit or you want to share it with one of your colleagues. Thank you so much, everyone. Go have a great day.